The Michigan Wolverines have thoroughly slayed the Ohio State Demon, and in doing so, they have won back-to-back Big Ten titles and made the college football playoff back-to-back years. However, this Michigan team has yet failed to reach a national championship game. Saying all of that, this team has the roster, the coaching, and the Vegas odds, if you will, to go ahead and reach the national championship game as one of the nation's betting favorites to win the whole thing. Can Jim Harbaugh and company break through and win a national championship, or will the Wolverines even fail to make the college football playoff in 2023? What's up, Tailgaters? My name is Tailgate Nate. Welcome to my channel. SEC predictions are done. Big Ten predictions are here for the next week. What better team to start with than the Michigan Wolverines? But hey, I'm predicting all 133 FBS level college football teams this summer, and that means I'm doing your favorite team. So you can subscribe, ring the bell if you want to hear my thoughts on your favorite team. Otherwise, you can do more than that to help support my channel. You're doing one by watching the video. Might as well like, comment, share, and anything else you can do to help support the channel would mean a lot to me. All right, diving into Big Ten predictions, starting with the Michigan Wolverines. If you haven't seen one of my videos before, how do preview predictions work? First, we go through a roster overview, take a look at what the team lost, who's coming back, and who's coming in through the portal and recruiting class. And then we're going to go through game by game, preview and predict Michigan football's 2023 schedule. So without further ado, I give you Michigan football in 2023. Starting out with, of course, the roster preview. Starting out with the quarterback position, the most important position on the field. We'll get to the starter in a little bit, but the backup is changing. Cade McNamara is transferred out to go over to Iowa. In comes Jack Tuttle for Indiana. Okay, we got that out of the way. J.J. McCarthy, one of the best returning quarterbacks in the Big Ten, if not going to be the best quarterback in the Big Ten in 2023, comes back to be the Wolverines starter. 2,719 yards with 64.5% completion percentage, 22 touchdowns, 5 picks for him last year. Also was the team's third leading rusher with just over 300 yards and 5 touchdowns. A lot's going to be expected of him, but the offense is going to ride through J.J. McCarthy, and I think he's going to be excellent in 2023. In the running back room, you got one of the best running back rooms in the entire country. Blake Corum had some injuries and everything last year, but for the most part, him coming back was a big surprise. A lot of people thought he was going on to the NFL, but Michigan fans are going to thoroughly enjoy having his presence back, as he was one of the best running backs in America last year with 1,463 yards and 18 touchdowns for Corum last season. And then Donovan Edwards was a really, really good number 2. 991 yards and 7 touchdowns. A dynamic duo in the running back room that can rival any running back duo in the entire country. That's one of the best running back units across the nation. In the wide receiver room, you do lose your leading receiver by quite some margin. He led the team in receptions and yards. That's Ronnie Bell. 62 catches, 889 yards, and 4 touchdowns for Ronnie Bell, along with some depth pieces in Andrew Anthony and A.J. Henning moving on to new programs. Roman Wilson and Cornelius Johnson are going to be the 1-2 for Michigan in 2023. They were the 4th leading receiver, talking about Roman Wilson, the 2nd leading receiver, respectively, talking about Cornelius Johnson from last season. And then you got Tyler Morris and some other guys that are returning to try to fill in the number 3 spot, along with some freshmen in Samaj Morgan and Carmelo English that are going to try to fit in with this wide receiver group next season. Or I should say this upcoming season. In the tight end room, Luke Schoonmaker is gone, was your 4th leading receiver, or your 3rd leading receiver, my apologies, last year with 418 yards, 3 touchdowns. And Eric All is gone as well, but you do return Colston Loveland and get a tight end transfer over, again, from Indiana in A.J. Barner. This offensive line was one of the best units in the nation last year, and you have to replace a couple of key pieces off that offensive line from last season. Oli Oluwatimi and Ryan Hayes are both gone. However, you do get an offensive line returner in Zach Zinter, along with many offensive line transfers to help bolster this unit. Drake Nugent and Miles Hinton are coming over from Stanford, and Ladarius Henderson comes by way of Arizona State. So this is going to be one of the best offensive line units in the nation again, I believe, in 2023. Defensively, you do lose Mozzie Smith, who was a really good defensive lineman. 6th leading tackler. Mike Morris led the team in sacks with 7, and the depth piece in Taylor Upshaw. However, you return Chris Jenkins, who was your 5th leading tackler last year, Jalen Harrell, and Mason Graham, as well as a 4-star transfer, a real good player over from Coastal Carolina, in Josiah Stewart. was really good for the Chanticleers, will be dominant in his time in Ann Arbor, I believe. In the linebacking room, Junior Colston and Michael Barrett, your top two leading tacklers from last year, are both coming back, as well as you get a high-profile transfer coming over by way of Nebraska and Ernest Hausman. The secondary is going to be loaded as well. You do lose DJ Turner, who led the team with 10 passes defended last year, as well as Jamon Green and RJ Moten. But this secondary is still loaded with talent. Former wide receiver converted into defensive back Mike Sainristil still was your fourth leading tackler last year and was second on the team with 7 passes defended. Rod Moore was your third leading tackler and led the team with 4 interceptions. You also returned Makari Page and Will Johnson. Will Johnson had 3 interceptions for the Wolverines last season. When you look up and down this roster, it's one of the most talented you'll see across America. And should be the favorites to win the Big Ten and one of the favorites to make the national championship game. The head coach for the Wolverines is Jim Harbaugh. Your offensive coordinator, Sharon Moore. Defensive coordinator, Jesse Minter. As now we take a first look at the Wolverines' schedule in 2023. Hey, if you see a game underlined, that's going to be a game Michigan's going to get in the Big House at home. If you see a game in italics or the slanted text, that's a game on the road. Any game in green is a game Michigan's easily going to win. Any game in yellow is, okay, the other team can push Michigan, give them a little bit of a fight, but I still see the Wolverines coming out on top. And red, of course, is a loss. So without further ado, let's predict Michigan football in 2023. And do I really need to speak on their non-conference schedule? I don't think so. I'm going to do it for a little bit anyway. East Carolina's losing a lot of talent. I think they're by far the best team that Michigan plays in non-conference, yet that'll still be an easy win for the Wolverines. And UNLV and Bowling Green are both improving in their respective conferences, but again, they will be no match for the Wolverines. So the Wolverines will have an easy 3-game sweep through their non-conference stretch, and I believe they will also win their first game in conference play against the Rutgers Scarlet Knights. So, and the reason for that game being there is, I don't think I need to say it, but it's pretty obvious. Michigan football is just going to out-football Rutgers. They are better in pretty much every position. I think every position they, in fact, are better. Michigan will dominate the Rutgers Scarlet Knights before the first true test to what I believe will be the first true test for the Michigan Wolverines in 2023, the Nebraska Cornhuskers on the road in Lincoln in Memorial Stadium. Now, Matt Rule is coming into this program. He's bringing along with him Jeff Sims and a lot of other very, very talented transfers on top of some really good talent that Nebraska's already had, just was not utilized properly by former head coach Scott Frost. But I hear all you out there saying, well, Nate, Matt Rule only wins 1 game in his first year. I do not think Nebraska's going to be like that. I think getting Jeff Sims was huge. It's a Matt Rule system-style quarterback, and there's a lot of good pieces here for Nebraska to work with. However, I do think that they will make some plays to keep this game competitive and close, but Michigan's physicality and toughness and just overall better talent, I think, will persevere here, and the Cornhuskers will fall at home to the Michigan Wolverines, who now improve, in my mind, to 5-0, and I do think they'll improve to 6-0 with a win over Minnesota. Quite simply, the reason for this game, I think Minnesota's got a chance to be a really solid team in the Big Ten this year, but you are losing Tanner Morgan at quarterback. I know he didn't have his best seasons down the stretch. You're also losing Mo Ibrahim, a very physical running back option, and you are losing a lot on the offensive line, which really could have helped you against a Michigan team that's going to stay physical and stay really, really tough here in 2023. So first half of the season, I don't see much trouble for the Michigan Wolverines, and to start the second half of the season, again, same story. They're not going to lose to Indiana. In fact, I think Tom Holland's team, or Tom Holland, look at me. Tom Allen's team could be so bad this year that he sees his way out of town. Indiana's losing a lot of talent to the transfer portal, and I don't think Indiana's going to be that great this coming season. In the game against Michigan State for Michigan this upcoming year, look, the Spartans definitely have potential to push the Wolverines, but Michigan is not going to lose to Michigan State. There are too many question marks here with the Spartans. Who plays quarterback after Peyton Thorne's transfer? Who steps up in the running back room? Who steps up with Keon Coleman's transfer in the wide receiver room? They do have some good pieces on defense, and I think we'll keep the game competitive through that way, but too many question marks on offense for me to really consider anything quite like an upset here for the Spartans. So the Wolverines, I think, will beat the Spartans, although Michigan State's got the potential to keep this game close, so I highlighted it in yellow. Purdue is going over a lot of overhaul here as well. Jeff Brom is out of town. He's going over to coach Louisville, and there's a lot of pieces leaving this team, including star quarterback Aiden O'Connell, who's been really good for the Boilermakers for the past couple of seasons. Now, I do think Purdue has the chance to be a very, very solid team under head coach. I believe the name is Ryan Walters, although correct me if I'm wrong. However, Purdue is just not at the level of Michigan. So the Big Ten Championship rematch will go as it went last December, this upcoming November, and it will be a Wolverine beatdown of the Boilermakers. Here are the games in the last 3 weeks that every single Michigan fan is circling, or if you aren't, you should be. Penn State is going to be the real deal this year. Drew Aller coming in, I think, is a phenomenal option at quarterback. Now, again, we don't quite know what he is yet, but a lot of people expect Drew Aller to be really, really good, and I do too. They got some phenomenal talent in the running back room, talent to rival that of the Michigan Wolverines. The wide receiver room is going to be there as well. This is also one of the best offensive line grouping in the entire country. And on the defensive side, lots of NFL caliber talent that can help slow down whatever Michigan is going to throw at it. I think this is going to be a very evenly matched game. Again, the only true question I have is how good really is Drew Aller? We're going to find out once he gets on the football field. I think he's going to be really good. The only thing that's keeping me, and the only real way I can explain it, is I think Penn State is 1 year away. I think with Drew Aller getting a year under his belt, and with a lot of guys that are going to come back to Purdue next year being to Penn State being more experienced this season, I think Penn State is going to give Michigan a hell of a fight. This is going to be a phenomenal game, but Penn State just falls that short to beating the Wolverines at home. I think Michigan's physicality, toughness, especially on the defensive line, in the trenches, and the secondary as well, I think is going to make that extra play to help the Wolverines pull out a win in Beaver Stadium. Then they got to go on the road to play Maryland. I would circle this as a trap game for the Michigan Wolverines. Ohio State saw it last year, second to last week of the season. Ohio State got a very, very tough test against the Maryland Terrapins. And you know what? Talia Tagovailoa comes back. There's a lot of talent in that running back and wide receiver room. Tagovailoa's got options to throw to on offense. That's not the problem for Maryland. It never has been. It's always been that defense. Maryland's defense is not going to be able to keep up with what Michigan's going to be able to throw for them, especially on the ground with the way Corum and Edwards can just absolutely run through opposing defensive lines. So now it sets up Michigan 11-0, and you'll come to find out I think Ohio State will be 11-0 as well heading into the game. This, of course, is the game that every college football fan has circled. Ohio State's going to try to look to avoid losing 3 in a row to the Michigan Wolverines, who are going to try to keep that win streak over Ohio alive. Now, this game could go back and forth either way. Ohio State's got one of the most talented teams in the nation here as well. But I see this as a perfect storm for Michigan. You get Ohio State at home. Everybody, including Blake Corum, comes back to this team. And I think Michigan still is going to be more physical. I think Ohio State's got one of the best offenses in the nation. That defense, I think, is going to be really, really good. But Michigan gets them at home. I think they are the more physical team. And while Ohio State puts up a very, very good fight, would not surprise me to see the Buckeyes walk out of Ann Arbor with a win. I do think the Wolverines will survive at home, leading to an undefeated record of 12-0. I got the Wolverines champions of the Big Ten again, and once again, back in the college football playoff. That's going to do it for me. Remember to like, comment, subscribe, do anything you can to help support the channel, and remember to play hard, but tailgate harder. I'll see all you guys in the next video.